What is up, jabronis? JJ back here with my guy Snyder over here to help with some DFS stuff. Maybe even give a bet or two as well. Who knows? Snyder, how was Thanksgiving? And also worth on like, what is your favorite Thanksgiving meal?
It was good. Favorite Thanksgiving meal is probably those dinner rolls. I like those the best.
Okay.
They're
Okay.
up there. Definitely turkey ham guy. I like all that. Pretty much everything that goes along with it. I'm down for it all and getting that food coma.
Pro turkey. I'll tell you what, you don't hear that a lot from people. Yeah, I also did not eat turkey yesterday. I'm indifferent to turkey though. So I mean, I could eat it. Doesn't
I
really.
don't mind eating it a couple times a year. I mean, it's not something I'm gonna actively go out and eat like every month or something.
It's a lean meat for the cool kids. But look, well, let's get started with a little bit of college football today. Nice to be a Friday with a lot of action. Also worth noting, Snyder, you were the family doing any shopping today? It happens to be Black Friday.
No, probably not today. I mean, I'll probably wait until Cyber Monday and see if what kind of deals I get suckered into there.
You got the right approach. I actually have a wedding to go to at 5 o'clock today.
Oh yeah.
6 o'clock. So yeah, I'll likely get a little twisted, maybe. We'll see what happens. But as for these games, so I guess I could start here, Snyder, because I do have a 12 o'clock game I like, and then I'll give out a 3:30 game I like as well on my end. So look, the MAC for me has been extremely profitable this season. What's up, Eddie? What's up, Wes? Um, betting the MAC for me has been extremely profitable this season, and normally I have a good handle on that conference. But this year, I don't know what the exact numbers are, but I think I'm hitting like 71 or 72% of my MAC bets. Obviously not sustainable, but it's been a conference that I feel like I've had a good read on. And moving to, there's a few MAC games today, but there's one in particular that really caught my eye. So Bowling Green hosts, where's the game? So they host Ohio, and I'd argue Ohio shouldn't be a touchdown favorite against anyone. But my issue is, I'm concerned Bowling Green might give up a lot of points because they give up a lot of points to everybody they play. But what I do like is, so Bowling Green's team total is 20.5. I really like this team to get in the box a few times today. So I've watched this team play, and against good defenses in the MAC, sure, they struggle. But when they played a defense very similar to Ohio in terms of yards per play, points per play, blah, 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 that happened to be Buffalo, where Bowling Green threw up 44. Actually, they threw up 56 in that one. And sure, we could call it an anomaly if we'd like. But at the end of the day, Buffalo and Akron have been two of the worst defenses in this conference. Bowling Green, surprisingly, only had 20 against Akron. But I look at that as more of an anomaly than anything because I think they were like a 2-touchdown favorite in that game. Look, what's the QB's name? Matty McDonald, I think, for Bowling Green. I know it's McDonald. I just don't know if Mike McDonald. I think it's Matty McDonald. He's tough to watch at times, but this Ohio defense is so willing to give up yardage in chunks. And I like what I've seen from this run game as well. I just think 20.5 such a short number. And I get it. Like, you look at Bowling Green's last game, and they got torched, right? I mean, so they got destroyed by Miami, Ohio, and destroyed by Toledo. But again, believe it or not, these are actually two of the decent defenses in the MAC, especially Toledo. And I look up and down at this Bowling Green team and who they've played with good defense. I mean, with bad defenses. They throw up 26 on NIU, bad defense, 24 on EMU, another bad defense. And of course, the 56 versus Buffalo. This team can score against bad defenses. And I really like the spot here for Bowling Green to get over 20.5. So that's at FanDuel. Bowling Green team total over 20.5. I think I got that minus 106 FanDuel, I think. At least
I was looking at a couple guys off that Bowling Green offense for some one-offs in DFS as well. Austin Osborne's only 4,300, and he's seen 6, 8 targets his last few games. I mean, he looks like a solid value play. Couple of value guys I was looking for on this as one-offs. Isaiah Cox for Ohio. I think he's solid for GPPs. He's seeing about 7 targets a game, but not too much as a whole for this game for me DFS-wise, with only a total of 48. But I like those 2 receivers as one-offs.
Yeah, I think I don't want to say that game has like sneaky shootout potential because both teams crawl up and down the field. but it wouldn't surprise me. These are two of the worst defenses in the MAC. So yeah, sure, they're also two of the worst offenses in the MAC, but something's going to give. And I'd actually lean more towards the offenses coming to play today. So we'll see. I definitely I don't mind you throwing players from that. There's probably the other MAC game is probably a better one to stack, to be honest, though. But either way, so let me get your thoughts on the Nebraska game. And we got a few comments here in the chat on it as well. You being from Nebraska, you and AP, and we were briefly talking before the show about Scott Frost and how, yeah, he may have not lived up to the hype with him coming from Central Florida and all that success they had there. I think people thought he would be the answer to this program. And I'm not saying he is the answer, but I'm also not saying he isn't the answer. This team at least has been at least mediocre or above in a conference. I'd argue year in, year out has been one of the toughest in D1. I know the SEC years ago was the toughest. But look, the Big Ten, it is tough to wiggle yourself around the Big Ten year in and year out. Wisconsin's good every year. Ohio State's arguably one of the best teams every season. Michigan under Harbaugh has been tough. Franklin at Penn State. There's just a lot of really good teams in that conference. What are your thoughts on Frost and even the game today? Because I know that you said he fired his entire offensive staff, whether that's the issue or not, or they're just the scapegoat. Today's game is a very small spread. Nebraska is once again taking money. What do you think? They beat Iowa today?
This is an interesting game. I mean, I'm really surprised to see what the spread is. Nebraska's only won 3 games this year, and they're favored by a point over Iowa, who's ranked inside the 15th, 16th. I think this is the first time ever that a team with 3 wins has been favored over a team like this. As far as Nebraska goes, it's just hard to get a grip on them. I mean, they're not going to have Adrian Martinez this week. Logan Smothers is some say he's highly touted out of college. It'll be interesting to see what he does here. I think Frost getting a new offensive staff next year and kind of getting away from the guys he brought over from UCF I think it'll help go in long run. I mean, it's going to be tough to get some guys in here. I mean, he's only got that, 1 to 2 year leash. I mean, he's got a short leash now. He kind of lowered his buyout. So it'll be an interesting thing seeing going forward. But I hope they can right the ship and get everything rolling here. I mean, everybody here is such diehard fans, and they just eat and breathe this Cornhusker football and are just dying to get back into the 90s when we were relevant. But for this game, I mean, I think it's going to be a really low-scoring, slog it out game. I mean, they're going to be out there throwing rocks like you had said earlier. I mean, it's going to be interesting. With a total of about 40, I could see like a 13-10 finish even in this game or something like that.
Now, from a DFS perspective, what are some games you're targeting or even some players you're targeting? It always is nice to see a team like Utah State on the slate, a team that plays wicked fast against an inferior defense in New Mexico. I see obviously UCF, but UCF's just not what they were earlier in the year. Cincy ECU sticks out to me because I have a best bet there also. Utah would make sense to stack because everybody does whatever they want against Colorado. But what are your thoughts? Obviously, we also have the 2 MAC games, which should see some relevance. I think Boise State should be able to do a decent amount against San Diego State offensively because I just don't think San Diego State has the defense that they usually do. I mean, they're a top team again, but their defense is not as good as it usually is. The Texas-Kansas State matchup with 2 really good offenses. Where are you targeting here for DFS and from a lineup construction, how are you looking?
I think we need to look at this Eastern Michigan, Central Michigan game for the most part. This just should be where a lot of your players come from. We got Ben Bryant as a value quarterback. I like him and 2 of his cheaper receivers, Dylan Drummond and Tanner Canoe. It's actually Tanner Canoe's birthday today as well, so you got a little birthday narrative going there. Okay. Both that stack is fairly cheap. I mean, it's 6.3K for the quarterback and 5.9 for the receiver and 5.7 for New, the other receiver. The main guy we need to attack on this slate, though, is at the running back position. Lou Nichols, the third. I mean, he's seen an absurd amount of load this year. He's averaging 138 yards a game. I mean, the rushing yards there, he's went 32, 43, 26. I mean, the attempts have been there. They're just riding him like crazy. He's got a really good matchup here, too, as a big home favorite. Definitely think all lineups or most lineups need to be starting with Lou Nichols, and I like that Eastern Michigan passing game too. I think we need to stack this game up. And another spot I'm looking at, I mean, you talked about Utah State. I do like Devin Tompkins. I mean, he's kind of priced up, but I mean, it's tough to fit him if you want to fit in these running backs. But he's definitely just been a monster this year as well. This Arkansas team draws a really good matchup against Missouri here. They're at home. They're a home point favorite of 2 touchdowns. KJ Jefferson, good. Traylon Burks is a great option as well. I really like the running back here in Dominique Johnson. He's 4.7K. He's a value type running back here, and I think he's going to hit over 100 yards today and get in the box at least once. So I like going with him. We've got Breece Hall on the slate too. I mean, Breece Hall is just a monster. He's averaging over 100 yards a game. He's found the end zone in every game this year. He hit the end zone 3 times against this porous TCU rush defense last year. So I think Breece Hall and Lou Nichols are the top 2 plays on the slate for raw points, and I'm going to be trying to jam those 2 in as often as I can.
Yeah, I think that Breece Hall's in for a massive spot, and if it wasn't for Nichols being on the slate, to me he'd be lock and load. The only issue is Nichols has such a good matchup here. Eastern Michigan is terrible against the run, and Nickel, and they just find creative ways to get him the ball. Obviously, whether it's counters, screens, even such as simple as like dives, it doesn't matter. Like they get him the ball, and he's great at reading between the tackles. He's got great breakaway speed as well. I mean, look at this dude's numbers. I mean, he hasn't had less than 134 yards in his last like 5 or 6 games. He's scored in every game this year, except for one recently. Yeah. He's had no less than 2 touchdowns in his last 4 games. Like he's just a freak, and Central Michigan plays fast, and they play much better at home as well. I think, despite you needing, like, here's the thing. If you argue on a slate like this, you're probably going to need some flavor of like a 200, 180-ish, 190-ish to take down a GPP. You're probably going to need like a 35-40 burger from him at that price. But I mean, that's something he's done these last 5 weeks. So, I think that despite him being 10K, I actually kind of think he's underpriced. So I don't mind that at all. You could probably be a little different. I think, believe it or not, I still think Nichols sees more ownership than Hall. Just because the matchup's so much better and you're only paying $700 more for him. But, I guess that could go a bunch of different ways. I guess I could slide over and talk on another game I like, which is at 3:30. And this is also on the DFS slate as well. East Carolina versus Cincinnati. Now, Cincinnati was a team I've only backed, I think, once this season, And I think it was their team total in one of their recent games, I believe. I'd have to dig deeper. They're just not a team I have bet much, but East Carolina is a team I have bet decent amount this year. Love the kid Ehlers. They're at home. This is their Super Bowl if you're East Carolina. If you're Cincinnati's Super Bowl, believe it or not, was last week, because them blowing out SMU shot them into the top 4. To me, this game doesn't mean anything to Cincinnati as long as they win the game. So, because if they win the game, they're going to get Houston, and that's a game where they can make another statement if they'd like, because Houston's been really good in this conference this year. To me, East Carolina plays really good offense. You look at their advanced numbers, and yeah, they play fast, but they run the ball really well. Ehlers is a really good decision maker. When he's not turning the ball over, this is one of the best teams in this conference. But that's where the problem is, right? Ehlers turns the ball over a bit too much. With that said, 14.5 is a huge number in this game. And I know it depends the book, right? Because some books have 14, some books have 14.5. FanDuel has 14.5. At least they did last night when I bet it. Let me see if there's 14.5 still hanging around at some of these places. So 14.5 popped at DK. Oh, and of course, now FanDuel dipped down to 13.5. We'll call it an even 14 at DK. But even DK is 14 minus 110. So you could technically buy that half point at 14.5. We'll call it 14 for here. I just think that Ehlers does enough to keep this game close. And Cincinnati's offense, like I said, they showed out last week when they had to. I felt they had to, and I even said, like on the show we did last week, this just is a spot that makes sense for Cincy to try to really pour it out. Like, I know people have been saying that for weeks, but I haven't been on that bandwagon because, truth be told, I don't think those previous games mattered to Cincinnati. Like, they really don't. Like, as long as they didn't lose, it didn't matter. What did matter is games like SMU, games like this one against ECU, and games like the Houston one coming up. If you're Cincinnati, you already made your statement. You're ranked 4th. You win here, you're not going to dip out of the top 4. And then you get Houston in a game where you can really send a message if you want to. I just like if they win big today, I don't think like if they win big today, Snyder, it's not like Cincy moves up to 3. Like they're not going to move. So from a motivation standpoint, I think ECU is just a ton more motivated for this game. I'm sure they'd love nothing more than to be the reason Cincinnati's not going to be in the championship game. I don't think ECU upsets today, but I do think they keep this in the number. 14 is a huge number. And I don't even think ECU's lost a game all year by more than like 10. And Houston, at least games where they had Ehlers. And Houston, who I'd argue is a team very comparable to Cincy, that was a fun back and forth with these two teams, ECU and Houston. Overall, I think Cincinnati's getting a little too much love here based on their blowout win against SMU. This is a bit of a different offense. SMU loves to throw the ball. ECU is a lot more balanced. So I like the spot. What do you think of ECU to hang around with Cincy?
Yeah, I think this is one of those spots that could sneak up on Cincinnati here going on the road. I mean, you got a hungry ECU team. This is their Super Bowl, like you said. I mean, we've seen these spots quite often over the years. I mean, definitely could see Cincy coming off that big win last week, stubbing their toe here. I was happy. I mentioned how we hadn't seen Ritter run the ball as much this year, and last week we finally seen him take off a little bit more. He had 47 yards rushing, found the end zone for a rushing touchdown, had three touchdowns through the air as well. We finally seen that spike game we'd been waiting for from Ritter this year. I don't mind going back to him. I don't think I can pay that price tag this week, though, but I could see it, though. I think I'd rather just look to get some exposure to this game through the receivers. And Trey Tucker's off back-to-back pretty solid games. I mean, he's under 5K. I think that's a cheap way to get exposure to this offense. And if you're looking at a guy from ECU, I mean, Tyler Snead, he had a good game last week. He's their leading receiver, 24% target share, 6 targets, 15-7 in his last 3 games. I think he makes for a good option here. Adi Otamisho, he's a 4.4 value guy. I mean, he's seeing solid targets the last 3-4 games too. I think he's a guy you could look to target for a value guy in this game as well. But I think we got a 57-point total here is what I'm seeing. I mean, that's kind of delayed. I'm not sure what it is right now, but yeah, I think you could play some guys like stack ECU, stack that up and bring a couple of these Cincinnati receivers back. Jerome Ford's kind of priced up. I'm not really on him this week as I like some of those other running backs in that price range, but I think for GPPs that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and I think for what comes down to it for me is Ayler's pretty active behind the line. He's not like a dual threat in the sense that he's going to pile up rushing yards, but he definitely can extend plays. And I just think that he does enough. And ECU's defense is by no means terrible. I mean, it's not great, but it's not terrible. And I just
seen Holton Allers is averaging 43.2 yards a game rushing, so that's an extra 4 points right there off the top.
Yeah, I mean, I could, like I said, I mean, he's running a little bit more than his career this season, but I mean, I like his ability to extend plays, and I think he's always looking downfield. And overall, like I said, I think that this is a team that can hang around at least within 2 touchdowns of Cincy. Again, you get like a hungry Cincinnati team again. Yeah, Cincinnati could blow the doors off this team, but like I said, they finally got into the top 4. They're not, no matter how big they win today, they're not going to move ahead of the top. Like, it doesn't matter. They're not going to move up unless teams above them lose, which is also unlikely. So to me, the question becomes, well, can they dip down? And I guess they can. Like, if Michigan upsets Ohio State, I guess in theory they could jump Cincinnati. But either way, like to me, this is the game that matters for Cincy is the Houston game, because if they win this game, regardless, I think they get Houston whether they win or lose this game. I don't think it matters, but it'll matter for their championship bid. And that's the game I expect them to really come out and fire away. This game to me is let's just win and get out of here from Cincy. So all in all, that's what I like. Now, DFS wise, any last notes? Obviously, we got about 7 minutes left, Snyder. Or maybe there's a bet you like today. Interesting, before you answer that, the Air Force UNLV game, is there anything you want to target there? I know it's never fun backing a team like Air Force, but looks like the quarterback's 5,800. Anything you like there and against the team in UNLV who Air Force literally should be able to just run up and down the field against? What are your thoughts?
I mean, it's hard to target that Air Force team, especially in the backfield. They've got four guys that's going to see the ball in their hands quite often. They don't really pass the ball too much. Yeah, I'm seeing their Daniels. He's only averaging 84 yards a game passing. I don't really typically like to target this Air Force team. If I did, it'd probably be with Brad Roberts. He's seen the most rushing yards. He's averaging 105 yards a game. Priced up to 7,500 though. It seems a little thin for me. Yeah, I don't think I could really go too much with Air Force. I mean, they have a 34 point implied team total, but that's just not a game I'm going to be looking at much this week, I don't think. As far as my best bet, I mean, I think I'm just going to roll with Nebraska there. -1. That line smells way too fishy. I mean, everybody's going to be back. I mean, the public you would think would be back in that ranked team, but I'm going to side with Nebraska here. I think we get it done with the backup quarterback. I was watching this line. I mean, it just moved to 1. It was at a half or pick 'em there for a while. I think I'm going to roll there, or that ECU +14. I think that's a solid bet there as well.
Yeah, so that's good. I mean, ultimately, it gives us 3 bets for the show. Let's end it with this, Snyder. What high-priced guy you like the most in DFS, and low-priced guy you like the most in DFS today?
Okay, the high-priced guys is definitely going to be Nichols and Hall, and what's this dude's name? Find this guy.
Because if you're gonna plug those two in,
and I like this.
Yeah,
I like Dominic Johnson, running back for Arkansas. I think this Arkansas team is just gonna mow over this poor Missouri defense. Dominic Johnson's 4.7K. I think he can rush for 100 yards here and find the box 1 or 2 times. I think that's the value play to own on this Arkansas side. For FanDuel, I think it's a lot easier to stack the Arkansas passing game as the prices are a little cheaper over there. You can go KJ Jefferson with Treylon Burks over there is the path I like there. Dominic Johnson's probably my favorite value guy on this slate, though.
Okay, very cool. Yeah, if nobody else has any questions about any other games, me and Snyder can wrap it up here. Snyder will be joining me again tomorrow to talk on the Saturday slate. You love to see it. So we'll be able to talk a little more DFS, and I'll give you a few more bets as well. And then look, we'll blink and it'll be Sunday and the NFL's back again. So yeah, overall, thanks everybody for joining in. As always, be sure to gamble responsibly. Snyder, wish you the best of luck, all your DFS entries, and even the chat as well. Anybody else doing DFS, sports bets, wish you guys all the best of luck. It's Black Friday, so do some shopping, but stay safe. And again, as always, folks, gamble responsibly. We'll be back tomorrow, and we'll see you then.